Hi, Fiends. Thanks for joining me on DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror. In continuing with March being Paranormal Month, I am absolutely delighted to welcome Marcia Miller. And Marcia has been a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter since 2005 and has many unexplained events from places like Rolling Hills Asylum, USS Hornet, an old Civil War bunker home, New Orleans, the Queen Mary, and so many more things. Welcome, 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 Marcia.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
How did you get involved with ghost hunting?
That's actually a pretty loaded question. But I think ever since I was little, I kind of had like an intuition, when things would happen, or I would have like feelings that were, you know, typically right with things that I had feelings for. But I never really um pursued that when I was younger. I grew up in an extremely religious family, so it was just not something that I really ever wanted to talk about because it was kind of a taboo situation. But when I got older, I had started losing a lot of my family members, and um I really started to like question like what I was taught versus like things that I would see or experiences that I was having. And so um I enrolled into a metaphysical school, and the for my thesis for my master's, we had to do a project on anything and that we wanted to do in the metaphysical field. And so I just wanted to start doing it on the paranormal versus religion, like what happens when you die. And so at the time, uh, the Ghost Hunters TV show first started airing like years ago. And a friend of mine, I didn't have a TV or any of that stuff at that time. I was just kind of like going to school and just kind of doing my thing. So I really wasn't like involved or fans of the show or anything like that. So a friend of mine though, she was very addicted to like the show, and she really loved the guys and all that. Well, we found out through there's a radio station called Darkness Radio, and he does events, and he would do like paranormal retreats where you pay a certain amount of money and you can go for the weekend, and there's like classes you can take throughout the day, like different things they talk about, psychic. There's like a lot of psychics there. There's like, they talk to you about like the how to ghost hunt, like the do's, the don'ts, like things like that. And then you do ghost hunts with the celebrities that are there, whoever is at this convention, and you do it uh for 2 nights. You get to go and do that. So my friend called me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna be doing it at the Queen Mary. You know, um, I really want to go. Will you go with me?" And I was just like, "Okay, sure. I don't know who these guys are, but I'll go with you." And so we went to the Queen Mary and did these little classes and met the guys and everything. And then we started doing the ghost hunts, and it was just kind of like I started like seeing things and like hearing things, and I just became like, I need to do this. I need to do this for my thesis. So I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to go, you know, as many times as I can. I'm going to start traveling. I'm going to go do all these things because I need to know what's happening. And so from that point on, it became, I don't want to say an obsession, but it was like very much intriguing. And so I wanted to continuously go and try to figure out like, why am I seeing these things? Why am I hearing these things? Like, why are they communicating, with us in certain ways? And so I just started doing a lot of events, and then I ended up uh having my own paranormal group, and we would go do local events and things like that. So,
It sounds like that class really opened up a door for you.
hmm well, it did because I've always been a little different. I've always been very connected to the earth, and like, I would rather spend my day like outside with no electronics and, no nothing, and just sit under a tree and read, or, go for a walk or something like that. I've just been very involved my whole life. So when I started going to this school, it was like it taught me about so many things, that I really was interested in, but never really had the time or really the effort to want to study about it, because, I was always told growing up in a Christian family that, this stuff is bad. You can't do this, And so I never really reached out. And then finally when I became an adult, I was like, I don't know why I'm sitting here not wanting to learn about these things. So I found the school and I just started going. It was an online thing, so I could do it, whenever I wanted. And yeah. So it was pretty awesome for sure.
What was the most intense experience that you've had doing this?
Um, I don't scare very easily. Um, but there was one specific event that happened that really scared me. Like, as a matter of fact, I left and I refused to come back in. Like, I ended up uh sleeping in a tent outside because I was like, not going back in there. But basically what it was we were at a person's house who lived on um inside of an old bunker from the Civil War time. And he kept telling us how, there was poltergeist activity there. He ended up having to turn all of his furniture and move it up against, the walls and the cabinets and doors, because they would just fly open, and stuff would come out. And he had kids. And so he was just like, I got to figure out what's going on here, because, like, stuff is happening, and I don't want my kids to get hurt in the process. So there was like a big group of us, and we went there for a couple of days. And the first night we were there, like, nothing really happened, because that's just the way the paranormal works. You can't just walk into a place and be like, okay, ghost, I'm here. You can't do that. You just, it doesn't work that way. So the first night we were there, we left everything the way it was, and nothing really happened. And then the next day, all the guys were like, you know what? Let's move all the furniture in the middle of the house. So we moved all the furniture in the middle of the house and away from all the cabinets and the doors and all of that. And he was actually doing construction on his house. So like the second level, he was doing I think he was building an office up in the attic, but he wanted to show my friend and I what the process that he was doing upstairs, all the progress. And so, um, when we went up the stairs, the door was a big piece of wood, like it was like a makeshift door, and it was on hinges, on the little area. And so we started to go up, and him and my friend went first, and then I went to go, but as I went to go reach for the door, it like this is going to sound ridiculous, and but it literally like came off the hinges at me. It came off, and then it turned like this, and then it flew down the stairs. And like it literally, at first I was just like, what the heck? And they saw it too, but because they were on the inside part of it. And so, um, yeah, it was pretty creepy. We did have somebody get it on video. Um, but I don't know where that person is now, but it was definitely it was definitely really scary, because like nobody it wasn't like anyone fell against it, or it wasn't stable or anything like that. And so we had a couple, it took like three guys to get it up from the stairs because when it had turned and it went down, it got stuck halfway down the stairwell. So, but yeah, as soon as they got that up and away from the stairs so that I can go down, I did. I went down and went outside and was just like, I stayed in my tent the whole night. I was like, I'm not, you guys do your thing. I'm staying right here. So, yeah.
I would say that that would be a pretty terrifying experience because it seems like it was definitely a threat, something
hmm
like that. So like,
Yeah.
wow.
And for me, it was even harder because, like, um, I would I would see spirits and have little things happen here and there, like little things, but never anything like that before. And I honestly was just like shaken. I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what this is. It was definitely not something I wanted to be around. That's for sure. And everyone else, there was only like three guys, I think, that ended up wanting to sleep inside the house. And I was like, go for it, but I'm not doing it with you. So, yeah,
I can't say as I blame you on that at all.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty creepy. I've had another thing that happened that was kind of crazy was at the Hornet, the USS Hornet. And I've investigated there a couple of times actually, but they do these overnight things where you can actually I don't remember how much it is, but you can have a small group of paranormal investigators go and you can stay on the ship overnight. But it is considered a working military ship. And so you do have to follow the protocol of like the military. So when you have lights out, it's lights out, you got to get up early, all of that. And then the men and women are separated at night and you sleep in different areas. And so the Hornet, the first time I went, we had to go to bed and there was a bathroom that was like next to where our sleeping quarters were. And the way the bathroom was is that it was very cold because it was all metal and it had like the stalls, but there was no doors for the stalls. What they were these long shower curtains and they had like metal rings, that attached it to the pole. And so whenever you went into the bathroom and you pulled the ring, it would make this, you'd pull it shut, it'd just make this horrible sound. And so, um, but the rule of it is that all of the curtains uh, have to be open so that, when you're done, obviously you have to open the curtain and leave it open. So my friend and we got up at like, I want to say like 1 a.m. to go use the bathroom because the ship is kind of eerie when you're like sleeping on it. You're not familiar with it, and it makes a lot of weirdly weird noises you're not used to and things like that. So my friend woke up and she's like, I don't want to go to the bathroom alone. You got to come with me. And I was like, okay. So we go to the bathroom and, you know, we use the bathroom or whatever. And then we open up all, make sure our curtains are open and everything. And then we go to bed. And about probably 15 minutes after we left there, we hear this like shoo, 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 like this really weird, like it was the noise of the curtains, you know? And I looked at her and she looked at me, and there was probably about like, I think we had five girls besides us in the room. And it actually woke up two of the girls, the noise. And they were like, what is that? And we're like, I think it's coming from the bathroom. Well, we weren't supposed to be up and wandering the ship, but we're like, we need to go see what that was. If it's not in the bathroom, we're not going to go further. We're just going to check out the bathroom. And so there was like three of us, and we were, trying to be brave going to the bathroom. And all of the shower curtains were closed when we walked into the bathroom. And they were all closed and they were all aligned perfectly with like each other. Like there wasn't one that was a strew, nothing. It was just like they were all exactly the same. So then we freaked out, and I kept trying to text some of the guys that we were with to be like, you guys, look, and like tell them about it. And then we fell back asleep. And then at around 5 a.m. the same morning, we were supposed to be up by 6, but around 5:30, we hear this really loud attention, like a sergeant would call out. And all of us were kind of like startled, awake, but there was nobody there. But it was like loud. It was loud enough to wake up every girl that was in that room.
So you all heard it. It wasn't just one.
All of us heard it. Yeah. Yeah, it woke us all up. And it was just kind of like, we were like, okay, well, and that was like, besides the Queen Mary, that was like the first hunt that I had went to that wasn't uh one of the convention things that we did. So, but yeah, it was pretty creepy. So, yeah, I'd say that was probably one of my second scariest times. Yeah.
Have you had anything happen that you would want to revisit, something you'd like to go back and check out again?
Mm, to be honest, I love all of the places that I've been to. I would not mind going to any of them over. Um, but I think something I would like to do again that I only got like 1 day to do, and I think it definitely could have used a few more days, and that was Alcatraz. Like, I was able to actually stay the night and do an investigation at Alcatraz, which I was very lucky to be able to do that. Every year, they do a raffle that people can enter, and if you win, you get to stay overnight with 25 of your friends, and you have to pay a certain amount, but they open it up for you to do a ghost hunt, and then you get to stay overnight, and they feed you, and they give you like a tour of it and everything, and then they will literally just set you free. They set us free at night. They're like, here you go investigate. Just don't go in this one building over here, and so it was really neat. Like, we were able to, and then we slept inside of the cells at night. And it couldn't have been more perfect because the um the weather shifted, and it was like really stormy with like lightning and rain, and because we were on the island and it was cold, we had a lot of mist that came in from the water. And so not only were we like at Alcatraz, but we had the weather that was there, that was perfect for ghost hunting. It gives it the extra eerie feeling. So, but I didn't really have much happen there. But that's why I said I think I would want to do it again, only because I feel like, like I was saying earlier, you can't just demand the spirit to come to you, and they're not gonna, you know, follow your will and be like, oh, you're calling me? Okay, I'll be right there. Give me 5 minutes, or it's just doesn't work that way. So yeah, so I would have liked to have been able to have a couple more days, and if nothing happened, then nothing happened, but at least I know I was able to have more of an effort to try it. So
Those are all pretty darn exciting experiences, though. I know you took a little bit of a hiatus away from that recently, but you were talking about a while back um, that you were looking at possibly doing like a ghost hunting kind of a show. Is that anything that might be out there in the future for you?
maybe right now I'm working on more of the indie horror films. I do a lot of production and stuff like that, but I only stopped because of my children, because I had gotten married and she had children, and they were really young when I first got together with them. One was 7. Oh no. Yeah, he was 7, and then my youngest was 3. And so, you know, I I just didn't feel safe ghost hunting having younger children, because if something did attach itself to me, I could have brought it into my home. And young kids are very susceptible to that, and they could get, I didn't want my kids to be terrorized, and I didn't want, anything like that going on.
That makes all of the sense in the world, really. So
I think that would probably be one of the only, I mean, I would go back to all of my locations, for sure. But I think that one is the Alcatraz is the one I would want for sure if I had an opportunity. So,
well, maybe as the kids get older, who knows, it might be something that might uh, free you up, and maybe they'll even find an interest in it. So
oh yeah, they've been bugging me since, matter of fact, my younger son, his birthday is coming up next week, and he'll be 14. And so he is just bugging me bad. He's like, "Come on, mom, take me." So, I'm thinking about maybe taking him to a locally somewhere and just doing a small little one, but I don't feel safe enough to take him to places that I know are pretty haunted. It's not yet, because he's going through puberty and everything, and then that's where they're really, sensitive and susceptible to that. And my son is very empathetic, my younger son, and so I think he's a lot like me, and so I feel like, it may not be a good idea for him just yet until he's a little older. So,
not quite ready to open up that door and have it be safe.
for
So
sure. Yeah. Where I would feel confident and know that he's okay, because I can do everything that needs to be done when you do a ghost hunt for protection and things like that. But it's still, if he's open to it and he's, not being very smart with his investigation, or, playing with Ouija boards, like antagonizing spirits and stuff like that, which I could see him doing right now. Um, so I'm just like, nah, not right now.
who of us hasn't done that, when we were younger? And
Yeah.
if you have had the experiences you've had, and you kind of know that that's also part of just an opening a door, it's like, yeah, you
Hmm.
might be a little bit more cautious. So
Yeah. The Overlook Hotel in the movie? They did it as the Overlook Hotel. Um, but the actual hotel that that was done is actually up on the mountain in Estes Park. It's kind of up on this big mountain. And I was there for 3 days, and they say that people start to, like, people will hear voices and hear children and different things like that. And I found out later that a lot of times the reason why people are having events happen there is because it's built on top of a bunch of minerals and like gems and everything in the ground, and it's creating like a um piezoelectric, uh I don't know how to describe it really. It creates like an energy that goes up, and some people are really sensitive to that. And because of the effect of the energy, the frequencies, it creates hallucinations in your head. So you get really, really bad headaches. You'll start to like hear things or see things. You can get vertigo, different things like that. So when you stay there, like, we did a couple investigations, and we were hearing like voices on the, we did get some EVPs of some voices and
oh, wow.
things like that. So it was really neat. Um, but I did have a really bad headache there.
Mm.
And so um it was it was pretty interesting. But that's something that's really important, is that no matter where, if you're going to any location, you need to see kind of what's around you and know, like, where the house or where the location was built, what was it built on, things like that, because some things can actually really be explained. Most of the time you can debunk things based off of other people that are with you, your surroundings with like streets and, electrical poles and, different, what's the weather like? Is it an old house, a new house, different things like that. So,
Mm. So all of the natural phenomenon and circumstances, you've got a natural hallucinogen that would be easy to mistake for being something outside of your head.
Right, right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that. They just go in there and they're so set on, doing the ghost hunting that any little noise or any little anything could cause them to be like, oh my gosh, I saw a ghost, or I heard a ghost, or this or that. And so I think there's like two kinds of ghost hunters. There's like the ghost hunters who go out there and do it and they'll believe anything and everything, you know. And then there are those who genuinely, like myself and other people, um, who will genuinely, it's kind of like I'm skeptical to a certain degree, but I'm not, because I've had experiences myself, and being able to know things, and, you know, um, being like an empath, or so it's like I know that they're out there, but I also know that sometimes you think things that are just based off of natural surroundings. And so that, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that I ever faced ghost hunting, was trying to go through everything and debunk. And especially if you have a team with you, you'll have those people who are like, no, this is what it is, and sometimes we do find a lot of really cool stuff, and then other times you just don't. And I don't even know how many hours you just sitting there waiting for something to happen. But I would never take it back. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of like the paranormal field is like a huge family. And if you find out someone else is a paranormal investigator, it's like this like connection that you have, just like all of the horror producers and anyone who works in the horror industry. It's the same thing. We're all family. So, no matter what kind of horror you're involved in. So I think
One of
that
the
that's kind
wonderful
of neat.
things I've noticed in doing a lot of indie interviews with people is how many of them know each other. And
Uh-huh.
I have the good fortune to know a lot of really awesome people. And I'll see somebody will post they're looking for some actors for this indie film. And I'll
Uh-huh.
put it in my little coffee house of horror and tag some of the actors that I know. And it's so wonderful to see people connecting up because it is like a family.
It is. Yeah. For sure. And that's what I like about it, really. So,
And you talked a little bit about the EVP. And I think everybody's heard of that, who watches anything about horror movies.
right.
Um, what's the other equipment that you mentioned having on board?
Um, well, you also have a thermometer is really good to have. Like one of the ones that are like the little guns, that you can actually measure the entire room with, to see what the temperature is. It's kind of an important thing because sometimes in certain areas of the room it'll be colder than others, or the whole room can just start dropping temperature fairly quickly. So that's kind of a good thing to have. Another thing that's kind of neat is I used to have some military grade laser pens. So you can actually set up, they have things now where they're like grids that you can project into the room, and it's a bunch of little laser grids that you can make. And so that's really cool to have, because you can see sometimes a break in the grid. So when you're like trying to summon people to come talk to you or trying to do whatever, you can kind of watch the room and see if there's any breaks in the laser grids, which is really neat. So, and then they have let me see. I use dowsing rods a lot. I have dowsing rods that I use. Um, I did a lot of spirit photography. I had some really high-end cameras, and I purchased some cameras that had the night vision. Um, and so I did a lot of photography, a lot of spirit photography. And that's neat because you have physical, like, you know, proof or something of what you have seen. The only caveat with that is, the what people say, the orbs and this and that, especially if you're investigating outside or in a really old abandoned place like Rolling Hills, Asylum, things like that. Because you'll have a lot of dust particles, a lot of, because you're walking around in these places and you're kind of kicking up stuff, and so that's the only hard part, is that a lot of people will just be determined that their photos are legit, but upon further investigation, if you look close enough in the little orbs, you can see little wings, or you can see like whatever. I mean, it definitely takes zooming into the pictures to see, and you can see sometimes the patterns of the pollen and different things like that. Um, I'm not saying that all photos that are taken outside or in abandoned things are like that. There are genuinely some orbs, yes. However, I think people are just quick to jump to that immediately. That, look, I got all these orbs. Look at how full it is in this room, or, you know, whatever. So, um, I think that that's something that's kind of a very common thing that happens in investigating. There's also the spirit boxes. You can actually make a spirit box yourself. You can buy it, but you can take an old radio, the kind that you can buy when you go camping, and just turn it, and got the little dial that you turn. You can actually hack those and make it to where um, it automatically keeps scrolling through the stations. So it creates this like white noise, and every once in a while you can hear talking from different things, different radio stations. So when you can use that as a way, kind of like an EVP, where you can ask questions, and sometimes the spirits will use um the box to communicate by using the words from the station, from whatever station it goes through. And so, like, you will hear, sometimes you'll hear the same voice, but other times you'll hear the voice is broken up, but you can hear the words. So it creates like a sentence or an answer. So, yeah, those are neat. Those were, well, they have new stuff now that when I had did it, years ago, we didn't use. But they have a lot more of technical stuff now. But I'm a simple ghost hunter. Just give me a night vision camera and my dowsing rods, and maybe even my pendulum, and I'm good to go. It's just, but some people need to have more, and that's okay, you know. So,
Like to have the gadgets and the goodies.
like, I had a bunch stolen from me at an event I went to, because overnight I had a bunch in my car. I took in just what I needed, and I didn't even think anything about it. I thought my car would be safe at this location, but there was four of us that got our cars broken into when we were doing the investigation overnight, and all my equipment was stolen. So,
That's a
but
shame.
it's okay. It is a shame. It was a lot of money worse, but you know what? It's okay. I mean, like I said, it's not like I can't just go with other things.
Right.
So,
Now, have you had the experience of getting something, a voice on the EVP that you could tell was in fact uh, trying to connect with you or contact you?
I've gotten that many times. Yeah, many times. So, it's it's neat when you get it, when you actually do get it. Sometimes it's pretty eerie, depending on like what they say, and especially if it's someone that, like a spirit that definitely does not like you there. Like, those are the ones that are kind of crazy. So,
What
I
do
used,
they say? That's probably a pretty simple question, but what kind of things do they say? Because
well, like, for instance, we'll ask people, or we'll ask the spirits, like when I go, I like to find out, okay, who am I talking to? You know? And so I'll ask, what is your name, or how old are you? You know, how did you die? Things like that. Kind of like, why are you here? Do you need help? Things like that. And a lot of times, like, let me see if I can give you an example. Okay, I have one. When we did the Queen Mary, we were down in the broiler room, and there was a down in the broiler room. There's a section where someone um burned to death down there. He had an accident, and he ended up being caught on fire. And so when I was doing an investigation, I had asked, um, how they died, like, and they said burned. And I found out later that there actually was someone that got that or got really severely burned down there, and they ended up dying.
Oh,
So
how terrible.
yeah, so I mean, there's definitely things that do come across, and then there's things sometimes where you're just like, what does that even mean, and things like that. So um you definitely do get things. I think the most I ever got was when I was at Rolling Hills Asylum. There was a lot of EVPs there for sure. That place has got a lot of activity. So for sure, there was an event that was it was a Friday the 13th lock-in. So basically, on Friday the 13th, they had like classes during the day, and then at night there was a group of us, and I remember, I think it was like maybe 30 people, but we all split up into like different groups and separated throughout the asylum. But we all stayed overnight at the asylum instead of like a lot of times when you go to locations, you only have until 2:30, 2 o'clock before you have to start, and I mean in the morning, so 2 a.m. And so, but when you get to do the overnights, those are cool because you can literally investigate from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Because typically they'll kick you out by 6:30 or 7. you know and so, but those are the ones I like because you get to stay. So
That's very cool.
yeah.
Well, I think at this point, I am going to just thank you so, so very much. And I hope I have a chance to run into you because I'd love to sit and talk to you about this. So hopefully that can happen.